Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry and another Media Makeover Get Out There, Get Known podcast. And we have a special guest today. We have Nathaniel with us as well, Nathaniel Turner, or we call him Nate Turner. Not Nat Turner, I told him that before, but Nate Turner. And we're going to talk a little bit over the hour, just guiding you through a brand makeover and how we can improve what he's already doing. He's an author, a speaker, TEDx speaker, author of several books. He's super smart. He's got several degrees, and we're going to bring him on and really just kind of go over where he is in terms of his career, in terms of what he wants to do, in terms of speaking, or eventually what it is that he's trying to do with parents and maybe even the educational system. I'm kind of spilling the tea a little bit, but we're going to talk to him right after this. And Lenzy is going to be joining us as well. We're going to be in the hot seat, the Ready, Set, Go Speak community. They're going to be with us as well. And they may chime in and give some additional comments and advice or even questions, because this is the hot seat edition.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey, so I want you all to be like the fly on the wall. We're going to have this conversation here with Nate. There you go. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, and you? Thank you.
Good. So one of the things that I really, really like about you is I saw your TEDx talk. It was fabulous. And I was thinking, I said, out of all the things that you do, obviously you have a law degree, and also you do financial planning. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That's correct.
And then obviously you're a dad. But the thing, I guess, is really your passion, or what's really pulling you, is this dad thing. So tell us a little bit about your background, without it, really going too long, and we kind of go into it over the hour, but your why, or why you did the TEDx talk, because the thing is, you're basically giving an apology to generation. Why?
Yes.
And so why was all that important? And then you can kind of like give us the idea of your background
Okay.
was full circle with that.
Okay. So if it's okay, I'm going to use who rather than why.
Okay.
And we can talk about that if you're interested. But I did the TED Talk for who? I did the TED Talk for the current generation of people who we disrespect, that we talk negatively about without recognizing that there's a certain thing called trees and fruit. And the young people today are the fruit and we're the trees. And we should stop complaining about the things that we produce unless we're going to do something to help the things that we produce be better than they currently are. So my background is that I'm from Gary, Indiana. I'm the product of Tommy and Gladys Turner. I lived in the Steel City. And so I think you're from somewhere near Detroit. Are you from Detroit?
Yes.
All right. So
well, one of the things, when you say Gary, Indiana, the first thing, I think about
the Jackson 5.
There you go. That's all. That's it. Because I'm from Motown, so I'm thinking about Gary, Indiana, thinking about Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. Okay,
exactly. Go on. Well, you're from Detroit, so everybody from Gary has some family in Detroit. So I've spent a fair amount of time there. Yes. The cities are somewhat similar. So you can imagine my background. I was born in 1965 to a father who wanted to join the Nation of Islam, to a mother who's a staunch woman of faith. And so these two people decided to have this child. My mother wanted to have a gift of God, so she named me Nathaniel. My father wanted to raise a revolutionary, and so he named me Nathaniel. He said my initials are NAT, so I'm a amalgamation of two people who wanted me to be something very specific. One person wanted me to have a faith, and another guy wanted me to do something to change the world. So that's who I am. I'm a guy who wasn't expected to be here. I'm a statistical anomaly. I tell people all the time. I'm a guy that my guidance counselor told me the best that I could hope to do in my life would to be to join the military or maybe work in one of those steel mills. I said I was not college material, and I proved them wrong. I was. And so today, the work that I do outside of being a financial advisor is to try to help other families so that no child ever has to be in a situation where someone is trying to dictate what they can or can't do with their lives.
When you graduated from high school, I read somewhere about your GPA.
I was at the bottom. I think we had 274 students. I was 247 or something like that. I was at the very bottom. When they announced and call you up and they called me last, it wasn't just because my name ended with T. It was because I was amongst the worst students. But I will say this, that there was a gentleman standing next to me. His name is Willie Underwood. Today he's Dr. Willie Underwood III. He's the chair of the American Medical Association and one of the most well-respected surgeons in the nation, I would dare say, on the planet. He and I were best friends, and we were at the back of the room because he was T and he was U and I was T, but he was worse than I was, so he was probably closer to the 274 than I was. But yeah, similar story.
So, how did we get from, when your counselor saying, "Hey, the best you could do is work in the steel mill," or that kind of thing, to really going to college and then earning advanced degrees?
So I heard your story, and you read a book, and there was a person, I can't remember her name, but she was in PR, and you actually had a chance to talk to her. Is that correct? Yes.
Terry Williams.
Yeah. So I didn't read a book, but I had the good fortune of having 5 people, and today I call them my starting 5, and today I show other families how to create this. There were 5 people who came along and told me that I could do better, and they weren't in my home. There was a gentleman by the name of Judge James Kimbrough. All but one of these people are deceased, but Judge James Kimbrough was the most respected person that I knew. He was a gentleman, probably 5'6" or 5'7", but he was a judge, and at one point in time, I think he was being considered for a federal appointment. His wife, Faye, beautiful woman. If you looked at the two of them, she was my geometry teacher. I believe she held a master's degree as well. So they were almost like the Huxtable family for me. I met my business school teacher. Her name was Charlene Turner, or is Charlene Turner. She's still alive. Her daughter, Michelle, and I were very good friends. People thought Michelle and I were brothers and sisters. I went upstairs one day and met her mother. Her mother became my mom. And then she invited me over, and her father became my father. So Grant Turner and Charlene Turner became an extension of my household. And then lastly, I met a gentleman by the name of Frank McKinney. And Frank was a police officer / entrepreneur. He owned a liquor store, a lounge, a restaurant. And he would, take me with him and taught me how to hustle. And so it's, how to own your own stuff. So people told me I could do more. Frank would challenge me and pay me and his nephews for whoever got the best grades. And I would get the best grades because I was challenged. And so those people helped me to believe something other than what the guidance counselor told.
Okay, good. So you basically had your board of directors, so to speak, or people that were guiding you. And so you finished and you did all of that, and I'm gonna let Lenzy go next. And so after that, you got the JD degree, practicing law, financial, that sort of thing, and then you have children. And then I'm gonna put a pin in it for right now, because then you're gonna tell me a little bit about when your father met your son.
Yeah.
And then how that trajectory of your life really changed at that point. Because you've written how many books? I think it's 6?
6, yes.
6 books. And they're mostly like for young adults or for children, or I guess young adults.
I would say I've written one that's called "It's a Jungle Out There," which is really for parents and probably primarily for young parents. But the mother, and the book I wrote a book about journaling. I don't think that's an age. Actually, my experience is that people my age are reading that book.
Okay, all right. So that's kind of like the main thing. So at this point now, I'm gonna pass the mic over to Lenzy.
Okay.
Lenzy, and explain, because before we started, we didn't have enough time for you to explain who you are and what you do.
I'm sorry.
Yep, Lenzy, go on.
Sure. Nate, what is your business?
Well, I'm on here with you, primarily talking about helping families help their kids get to great schools for little or no money. So I would tell you I'm a college and career strategist.
Okay. So you're targeting parents with children what age?
I'd like to start with children who before they're born. but I work with families for children for all ages.
What exactly is the service that you offer to them?
So it's a process called backward design. If you tell me where you wanted your child to go to school, my objective, my goal is to help you to get that child to school with as little or no money out of your pocket as possible.
Okay. So typically what age children of what age are coming to you? Because
Sadly, most people are thinking about college only when their kids get to high school. But ultimately, when I talk to families, what I talk to families about is having a plan before you have a child.
how are you marketing?
I've done a little bit of media. This is how I met Pam, but mostly it's been word of mouth and speeches.
Can I
Okay. So go ahead,
can I
Pam.
ask a real question? The TEDx talk that you did,
Yes,
you went out and you applied for that.
yes.
How have you leveraged that TEDx talk? Because
I
people feel like that's the holy grail of speaking, right? Because
sadly, yeah, sadly, I haven't. And so to be fair, I didn't intend to do any of this. What I was doing every day is I worked in the financial services industry, and I don't want to talk about that because, but I was
you
I was working in that area, and the reason that I started in that area is because I wanted to find a way to help people who look like me be able to change their fortunes by understanding the financial markets, etc. What I've come to understand is that is a pursuit that is not the best way to do it. The average net worth of a Black family before the pandemic was $1,700. So when you work in my industry and you're told that you should only work with people who have a net worth, a net investable income of $500,000, then that eliminates a whole lot of people. And I'm not here because I had $500,000 because my parents had $500,000 to invest. I'm here with you because I was able to get an education. So then I
Mhm.
said, let me pivot and figure out how to help families get their kids an education. And oh, by the way, we were able to do something very remarkable with our son. And so I just show other people how to replicate that same process.
Ah, I love it. I love it. That is a full circle moment. I mean, it's one of those things where the things that you thought you were going to do, it's like it leads to something else and it leads to
Right.
something else. I will say that I do have a colleague, PR person, not Terry Williams, but another one, Gwen Thomas, and she did PR as long as I have 20 plus years. But when her son was going to college, she made a pivot because she won him so many scholarships. I mean, she was applying for found the scholarships, that kind of thing. And he ended up, I want to say, not paying anything and actually came out ahead.
Right.
And a lot of parents were asking her, how does she do it? And so she flipped everything because of that, because her son now is overseas, I think in London now, he's graduated. But basically, she's teaching parents with the book that she wrote about financial aid and financial how to win scholarships. And she does a company called Fresh Perspectives.
Okay.
And really, what she does is she doesn't do like younger ones like you. She really
Mhm.
does work with ninth and 10th grade parents. So because that is when their antenna is up and it is easier for her to get them to come out to her seminars. If
Right.
you were to say, "Oh, okay, let's start at kindergarten, let's start at middle school," she does not get a lot of those parents paying her money.
Sure.
The ones that really pay the most, you
Hmm.
know which ones those are, right? Those
Yes.
11th and 12th grade parents that's like, "Oh, please help." And those are the ones really, but she really tries to start like in ninth grade or 10th grade. But by the 11th and 12th grade, those parents are like, I need some help. I need my kid to win the Coca-Cola scholarship or whatever it is, or I need my kid to get into this school.
Right.
And because she has the success of her son who won, I want to say like about 100 scholarships. I mean, it was crazy. She coached me and my daughter won like 14 scholarships.
Mm.
I started late. I started like in the 11th grade.
Right.
But if I had started earlier, but it's hard to explain that to people who you don't see it coming because they're worried about certain things at certain stages. So that's what I wanted to say about the whole thing. And so she has flipped her whole career to doing that. And that is really like the main thing. So yes,
Okay.
so continue, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
Um, how do you like to communicate, Nate? Because we got to figure out well, first let me go back for a second. What
Sure.
Pam's saying is exactly right. You 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 may recognize the importance of starting at the earliest age before the child is born. The parents aren't. And that the college fire is a fire that's so far in the distance, they're not worried about that. They got this little 2-year-old running around trying to destroy the house. They're not thinking about like there's so many more immediate fires that they have to deal with as parents, that the college, that's so far, that's a future me problem. So that's what they're going to be thinking. And it's really hard to get somebody out of that type of, until they identify it as a problem, they're not going to pay any attention to you. So it becomes a problem when, okay, 9th grade, definitely 10th grade. And rather than try to fight that, you will be much easier to just don't try to fight the current, swim with it. So recognize that, that's when you're going to be able to easily get their attention. They're going to pay attention to what you're saying, and design and structure your program in that way. Otherwise, you're fighting the current the entire time, and they're just not listening. Like a mom with young children is the busiest person on the planet. If you're not talking about something that addresses a problem that she's having right now, she is not paying attention. Yeah, college is important. That's not the problem right now. I got a long time before I got to worry about that. So just understand that. And I encourage you to, I know where you're trying to go, and I recognize the importance of that. But I'm telling you, you cannot help somebody with a problem that you think is a problem that they don't.
When you say, can I ask a question?
Ahead,
yeah.
Go.
So when you say they, who are you referring to as they?
The parents.
Because
So the parents.
Because what I would tell you is that the they that you're referring to is not all of them. There are parents today that are putting their kids in nursery schools that cost thousands of dollars. There are parents today that are starting with people to work with them with consultants called concierge consultants that they pay $750,000 beginning at the 6th grade. There are parents today who are having nannies. There are parents today who are putting their kids in micro schools with just a handful of other business partners. So I get what you're saying. I do. I absolutely completely get what you're saying. But I also suggest that if we're going to move forward, and I think maybe when you say they, you're talking about parents who are maybe more like you and I, or parents who have don't have unlimited financial resources. But the kids that young people are competing with against today are competing against kids whose parents are getting the start as soon as their children are here. And only 2/3. One last thing I like to tell you: only 2/3 of all third graders across the country cannot read, write, do math, or science at third grade level, and 2/3 of those students are going to end up on welfare or in prison. And so I submit to you that if I am just talking to parents at 9th, 10th grade, then I'm going to be partially part of the reason why a large swath of children don't get an opportunity to move their lives forward positively.
So what I would say there, Nate, is the parents you talked about in the beginning, you're describing the families that have resources.
I didn't have any resources when we started.
No, I'm talking about what you just said when you said, well, there are families out here that put their kids into these programs. And
sure.
You're talking about people who have money. They have resources, and they're able to focus on this from the very beginning. But the families that you say you want to show up for are the families who do not have those resources. Well, some of those families we're talking about, their challenge is making sure that they feed this child.
Sure, I get you.
So you can't compare, say, well, these people start their kids from the beginning. Well, yeah, they got all the money in the world, so they can do that. There's other family where, you got mom and dad working 2 jobs, maybe 3, to put food on the table. They're not in a position to be thinking about college and putting their kids in those same kind of programs and such. So that those that's not a fair comparison. Like, you can't compare the resourced families against the families who do not have those resources and expect the families who do not have the resources to be able to do the same things.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna listen. I know there was something you wanted to tell me. I don't want to. I'm enjoying the conversation, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I know you don't want to spend time debating the merits of.
Yeah, it's not about. It's not about.
Because
It's
I
not
don't
about
think
the merits.
No.
The
I know,
merits are there. It's
but I don't
what
think you
can they
fully understand.
what can they realistically do?
Yes, but you don't fully understand. When I say resources, I'm not talking about having to have a lot of money. See, because I didn't have any money. I didn't start out with any money. I started out very much with no money. My wife was in graduate school. She didn't have any money. I was starting a new business. I didn't have any money. This was not about money. This was about an intentionality that I started early enough so that rather than waiting until the end to figure out that my 9th or 10th grade child needs remedial courses, rather than waiting until my child graduates and I find out, oh, they got all these A's, but these A's don't really mean anything because the school wasn't any good. And the test scores they have won't help them to get into a proper college that allows them to go to school, as my son did, for free. There are things you can do now to start as early as possible that don't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you money to use a Khan Academy account. It's free. It doesn't cost you any money to sing and dance with your child. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything to read aloud to your child. It doesn't cost you anything to look at everything and point out and say what it is, what color it is, to spell it out, to make the sounds of it. These are free things. I'm not talking about cost, but I'm telling you, wealthy people are not engaged. They outsource everything. So somebody else reads to their child, someone else plays with their child. I'm saying we have to be intentional about that. We can't wait till to the 9th and 10th grade. We can't wait till the 11th grade, because then now you are talking about needing resources that you don't have, because now it's much more expensive because you waited till the end.
So to that, I'm going to say that time is a resource, and
Absolutely.
time is a. So again, for the families that do not have, they're not making much money. They are trading all of their time for a little bit of money. So it's not that they don't want to read to their kid. They can't. They don't have time. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm saying there are plenty of parents who would love to spend more time reading with their child and doing the enrichment activities, and they physically cannot because they're not at home. They're out working. So, I'm just saying, let's not structure a program that they can't participate in because they just can't. It's not about cost. Well, it's about cost because cost is time, cost is money. They don't have the money or the time because they're working. So that's what I'm saying. Let's, I'm encouraging you to recognize that the people that you're trying to help may not be able to for these reasons. So but how do you like to communicate? Because we got to figure out how you're going to implement your marketing campaign in a way that you can actually reach these folks, and the ones who can participate in the programming you have can find out about it and then start to do it. So how do you like to communicate? Because your marketing is going to have to be, marketing is an everyday activity.
Yeah.
And so we got to figure out how you like to communicate and on which platforms are you going to be most effective at communicating and reaching the people who you're trying to reach.
Sure. By how you mean? Is it written or you mean
Yeah. How do
audio,
you
video?
do you like to write? Do you like to talk? You like to make videos? Like, how do you
No,
like to communicate?
I love to write, and I enjoy talking. But outside of that, I don't have an answer for you.
No, that's the
Okay.
answer. So
Okay.
some people, will say, I don't like writing at all. Or others like, I love to write. I don't like talking to people. So it's, figuring out what you like to do.
Yeah.
So do you are you comfortable? Well, you did a TED talk, so I'm assuming you're comfortable communicating on video, going to
Yes.
sit in front of a camera. So YouTube is what I advocate for everybody because it's just the best platform for, in my opinion, for adults who want to have adult conversations. You're able to speak in long form. You don't have to be an animated, compressed, commercialized version of yourself. You get to just have a regular conversation. And so a strategy that you could implement is doing counseling sessions with consultations with parents, and then posting those videos on YouTube. So maybe you do a discovery meeting with parents, or you could do a Zoom session where they can ask you questions and such. And so this is a very easy way for you to get the expertise out of your head and into a format that more people can consume it. And then you put those videos on your YouTube channel, and then that becomes a repository where people can go and get the information from you. If you think that's, does that sound like something that you might be able to do?
Absolutely.
So how often are you able to engage parents and just have a conversation with them in any way about this service you offer?
Daily. I probably doesn't a day go by that I don't talk to a parent about this, about something related to child rearing, college prep, how to do well in college, what to do after college. Yeah.
You talking to them on the phone? How are these conversations?
I just got off a Zoom call with a parent just an hour before we wrapped up, and she and I are talking about doing something more regularly.
What do you do?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What do you do with those sessions?
What I do with them?
Yeah.
We're talking about now taking them and recording them and then doing just as you described.
That's the easiest. So if what you're already doing, that's the easiest type of marketing. You just got to make that available. So, and that's the easiest way for a parent to see what it is you offer and whether or not you're the guy that they want to work with. So I would encourage you, if you're having these conversations already and you're doing them via Zoom, start putting that stuff on your YouTube channel.
Okay.
So this is one of the things that PR is really helpful. I don't know if you've ever heard of the magazine Successful Black Parent magazine. It's about 20 years old or so. Okay. It took a hiatus during the pandemic, and then it's back.
Okay.
But really knowing where those type of parents that you want to work with, what they're reading, watching, consuming, YouTube obviously, but really having the credibility of maybe having a column or even being written about in Successful Black Parent magazine. I actually interviewed Janice not too long ago on this podcast.
Okay.
But also too, in terms of, a lot of people want PR because they're thinking like, oh, if I just get the PR, then it really will be like that magic bullet for me, and then everybody will be calling me. But the thing about PR is it really does give you authority. It gives you visibility. You're using the other person's platform. You're obviously telling your story. You're an expert at something, so you really want to share that. But knowing whether it is radio, TV, newspapers, or magazines, or even online publications, you've got to learn how to leverage that. There is a way to know there's so many media options out here, but the ones that would really make your audience stand up and pay attention are the ones that you want to go after. So there is a NBC's Today Show. There's a gentleman by the name of Craig Melvin. Mm-hmm. And you know that he's really the thing about him is that he's very similar to you. And I don't know if you follow him at all. Do you know him or know?
I've obviously seen the show. I've seen him a couple of times.
So one of the things, he wrote a book called Pops, and this was learning to be a son and a father. So his main thing is really talking about parenting. And his first one was like a memoir because he had a strained relationship with his father addiction and all those kind of things. And really this right here, Craig talks about things that all dads face, including himself, a father of 2 young children, growing up in South Carolina, fraught relationship with his father, was distant, often absent parent due to his drinking, as well as working at a graveyard shift and all that kind of stuff. And he was just saying that because of that, that's where he really like learned how to be a son and a father, obviously after he becomes an adult. But the new book, if you follow him, he has just been on a book tour. He was at Busboy and Poets, and he's done a lot of book signings. But his book that he's doing right now is called I'm Proud of You. And it's a picture book, a tribute to fathers, sons, and their childhood milestones that inspire every parent. His main thing is obviously Father's Day is coming up, but his main thing is really talking to parents that are raising sons. So he is a niche, and he really is intentional about his niche. He has obviously has a platform on the Today Show, and he's not selling anything other than the book. But the thing of it is that if you watch, and I always tell this to people too, PR wise, even in people in the Ready, Set, Go, Speak community, that whoever you look to, you want to be in on their level a year, 5 years, or even 10 years from now. What media have they covered? Where have they gone? What are they doing? Are they at libraries? Are they at schools? What schools? What podcasts? What magazines? And you'll see that obviously he is definitely part of the Today Show family. So that's not a problem. He's on television, but he's also in some other print publications because they're looking for Black men that are really have strained relationships with their fathers, and then making sure that they don't do that with their sons.
Right.
So I say that from the standpoint of you, that it would be good for you to study that. And the thing that you said, what was your program called? Backwards
Backward design.
Backward design. I say that the same thing for PR. Backward design. Where do you want to be in your backward design? And so where do you want to be? You can maybe look at what Mr. Melvin has done and backwards design that. But how did he do it? And some of those things that we're talking about, getting the YouTube, getting the volume of that thing so that you can step into the other bigger PR places. And that's really the thing. And you've done the TEDx talk, how you leverage it. I interviewed someone the other day, and they said their TEDx talk that they did leveraged 300 paid speaking gigs, and they've done 6. So knowing that, just really knowing how to do that, that's one of the things that I teach my clients, is how to leverage every piece of PR, more than
Gotcha.
once. And yeah, you take it and put it on YouTube and put it on Facebook or wherever you do. But there's so much more that you could do. I told a client the other day, even if you do a photo shoot, you can leverage some of that content in different areas. And it's only because that's what the PR brain does, because you're just trying to really making sure that you're promoting yourself in the right way to the right people. And so you have a message. I just want to make sure that when you look at someone like Craig Melvin, you see how he is so deliberate. On his Instagram, you'll see he put down 5 cities. Now, I don't know if any of those 5 cities were near you, but it would be advisable if you could, because this was in May, he may have a few in June, to
Sure.
meet him.
Okay.
To meet him and to share your story, to share your book, maybe put together your media kit, your YouTube, scan it on a QR code, whatever it is. I would say just get there if you can, that whole song,
Right.
And I actually told another client, and they bought this advice and they took it. There was a person named Fawn Weaver, and she owns a alcohol company called Uncle Nearest. They would love to have Uncle Nearest be a sponsor of their event that they do every year. That the stories are very similar, and just and I said, she's on tour right now, and you could buy a VIP ticket. VIP ticket guarantees that you meet them, that you can even have a drink with her if you want to, what the whiskey that she has. And it was like not close. We're in Detroit. This person was in, she's going to be in Chicago. They bought a ticket. How much was a ticket? $150. $150 to be in the space of someone that
Right.
that can probably change your life is very, very important.
Right.
So it's like, well, what do I send? What do I do? I said, you don't go there and picture. She's a storyteller. So you're going to tell her your story. And he has enough media clips that he can actually show and share his story. With you, you have a book, several books, right? So we want to make sure that those books are going to the right people so that they can allow you to have a bigger platform so more people will know about you.
Okay.
There's a thing where you can write a book, 6 books, 7 books, 8 books. How the books selling? Can I ask? You've written 6. How are they selling?
They've done okay. I'm not quitting my day job. How about that?
Okay. All right. So the thing of it is, it's like we got 6 books and we want to sell these books, but we've got to be deliberate about it. Just like you said, the backwards design.
Yeah.
The thing that I always tell people this, Nate, I tell this to people all the time. They think I'm crazy. I said, before you write a book, please write the marketing plan. That's the backwards design, right? You figure out how to sell it before you write it. But most people write it and then they figure out how to sell it. Because if you write the marketing plan first, you know the things that actually are going to have to be in the book in order for it to sell. So that is like a hack, I guess you would say. That's a hack. But write that first. And part of the marketing plan includes your platform. And educational systems, maybe they're buying the books in bulk. So how do you make that happen? Have you ever sold the book in bulk, like to, I don't know, educational systems? Okay, so you did it once. How many did you sell?
Well, it was over 100.
Okay, wash, rinse, and repeat that. How easy was it to do it to one educational system, 100 books?
It was fairly easy. Yeah, it's just part of the speaking engagement. They bought books.
Yes. Okay. So just looking at that part and trying to sell one-on-one, 100 books, maybe it's 1,000 books to a larger educational system. If they loved it, hopefully they did love it, then you could use that as a testimony for the next educational system or for the next nonprofit or whoever buys these books. So you know that everybody has an association. Everybody has these groups or conferences and conventions. So they will do that, making sure that their people, whoever, we define who their main person that they're trying to reach, and your book are reaching the same people, they will buy the books in bulk, thousands of them. So being involved in those groups, when I teach people and they're working with me one-on-one as a publicist, I say, what groups are your people in? National Association of Wolverine Bar Association. Let's just say that. You familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
Wolverine Bar Association is Black lawyers
in Michigan. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you're a lawyer. You have a JD degree. People have an affinity for people who are like them. Get in the Black lawyers group. Black lawyers have kids. So that could be like one of the first things I always tell people. I said, we overthink it so much. It's like, oh, we want to get on CNN. It's like, but your lowest hanging fruit are the people that are just like you.
Right.
Lenzy, talks about this too a lot. He's a Army officer, a retired Army officer. So people who are in the military or not retired.
I did 4 years, Pam. That's not retired.
Okay.
I quit.
I know nothing. I know nothing about the military. I thought it was retired. I don't know. No. I didn't know. Listen, I didn't know you could quit. I didn't know you can't quit. Right?
You can't quit, but I completed my my commitment, and that was it.
Okay.
Tomato, Pam.
People who are in the military have an affinity for other people who are in the military. Doesn't even matter what branch, because they understand the commitment that the person made, that kind of thing. So those are some of the best clients that he have are people who were in the military, who are now doing chef things, right? So those are the kind of things that I'm just saying that it's part of it is really getting niche down and then following the people who you can do the backwards design from. And then if you need the contacts, then that's when someone like me will say, hey, we can introduce you to, because like you said, you didn't quit your day job. You still got your day job. You're still doing that. So you need someone who's on the ground, who are the eyes and the ears for you, and say, hey, they're looking for this, they're looking for that. Send your book here, send your book there. Those are the things that really make a difference. When I looked at Craig's list of where he was, those same people who liked his book will probably like your book. I will call all the people who had his book and say, can I come in and also do a talk and a signing?
Gotcha. Okay.
Now you got to physically call and try and reach them. Every phone call to someone is now probably 4 or 5 calls. Every email is probably not just one email. It's about 7 emails, but it's persistence.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of people don't have time. So that's why they pay someone to do that for them, because they don't have time to make the calls and the follow-up call and the follow-up call again. It could be nerve-wracking, but if you're very intentional about it, it's like, you know what? I know this is a good match. Just like with Fawn, it's like, I know it's a good match. I know my client's going to go to Chicago and he's going to seal the deal. We're going to make sure he's about 3 or 4 weeks, but when you look at that, if there is any other, what I call influencers in your field, who are they? Name like a couple of them. Who are they for you? the influencers
in the parent and educational space?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could not tell you who I thought was an influencer in the space.
Not knowing it
Yeah.
really, really big. Is it Dr. Alvin Poussant? That's probably like the top of the food chain. He was the one that was a consultant to the Cosby Show back in the day.
Sure.
I
I
really-
mean, I do know him. I mean, Hakeem Al-Abudi. I mean, those are people when I was a kid. But today, I don't know who would be considered an influencer in this space. That's not to say that there are not any. It's just to say that I don't know who they are.
Okay. All right.
Going after organizations, influencer organizations, might be easier. Like what just immediately popped in my mind is Mocha Moms. I know about them.
Mm-hmm. I've met them.
Jack and Jill.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! If you crack Jack and Jill, that's a wrap.
There's another one called Melanated Moms.
Mm-hmm.
So these are not individual influencers, but influencer organizations, in that they have the audience that you're trying to reach, and the topics that are important to you are important to them. So these are places where you could very easily get an audience. I don't know why if you reached out to any of those three organizations, for example, and
I've been in contact with a couple of them. I've been in contact with Mocha Moms. I've been in contact with the Mom Summit. I've done work with the Dad Summit. I mean, it's not that I've not done any of it. I have done some.
What happened?
I spoke at the Dad Summit. I think I wrote some things for Mocha Moms. I was with the Department of Education at the parent camp. I mean, I've been a number of different. I've done some work with the NCAA. I've done some stuff with the National Society of Black Engineers. So it's not that I've not done anything. I just don't. When you said who were the primary influencers in the space today, I don't know who those primary influencers are. And again, you may not see it that way, and it may be the way that I see it, and I could be completely wrong. But I see something slightly different than I think that I feel like a lot of people are doing around the work with children and education, in particular with Black children. If we're talking about Black children, because I'm not just talking about Black children, but I think we see education differently moving forward than what most people are doing in the way they see education today.
So when we say that you did something with the Mocha Moms and you spoke at their summits and things like
No, I didn't speak at their summit. I wrote some stuff for them, because I used to have a blog called Raising Superman, and it's still up. But so I wrote for them, and like Blacks with Married with Kids, I think that's the name of their site. So I do have some familiarity with some of those groups that you were mentioning, and some of them I wrote some stuff for Black Enterprise some years ago. So I've been in a few. I wrote for the Washington Post some stuff for them some time ago. So I have done some stuff.
When you wrote for the Washington Post, what were you positioned as?
As a parenting expert.
Just a parenting expert. Okay.
Yeah.
So they came to you as a parenting expert. Is that a moniker? Okay, name your moniker. It was a human, and you got to
Humanity Propulsion Engineer.
Okay. I like that. That's very cute. I always say people should have cute names, but I would say parenting expert as seen in the Washington Post. Wouldn't that sound? I mean, if you wrote for the Washington Post and you were a parenting expert.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Not everybody can say that, right?
No.
So of course there's a whole lot of influencers and quote unquote competitors in the space. But if someone were to Google child and education expert, do you come to the top?
Probably not.
So that right there, parenting expert as seen in the Washington Post, is a good moniker to have. And so the other
Humanity Propulsion Engineer. Don't worry about it.
Yes, Humanity Propulsion Engineer. That's a tongue tie. That's a little bit of a tongue tie. I can't say that real fast 3 times, but I can say parenting expert as seen in the Washington Post. And those are the kind of things that as a publicist, to help you really get that part together. Even like, who is the right person to pitch to? Because there's so many media. You can pitch to a whole lot of media, but what are the ones that are really going to make a difference in terms of turning the wheel for you?
Okay.
So where do you see yourself, where you want to be a year from now or 5 years from now, in terms of what kind of stages, what kind of media? Where do you see it? Because if you could see it, I always say you could be it. So where do you see yourself?
Well, I would say that I know I'm no longer doing what I've been doing for the past 25, 30 years. That my primary occupation will just simply be around helping parents and helping kids with education.
Parents and kids. Okay.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Parents and kids with education. So that is, like I told you about my PR colleague, Gwen, what she does the seminars and that kind of thing. It's just hers is just scholarships and this and that. So when you say parents and kids,
well, parents, I shouldn't call them kids, especially parents and students. So we'll say students.
Okay.
I don't want to call them kids.
Parents and students. Okay. And that's what the backwards design program that
yes,
you have.
ma'am. Okay. Correct.
All right. So that part right there. And so at this point, you're known as a parenting expert because this is what you're positioning in terms of all the media is and around. So by children and education experts, I'm, sometimes you could say early childhood or, so niching that part down, Nate, is really like the part that I know you like the early childhood because, that's where you can make the most impact. But is that where you see yourself really being the few years from now? Is it early childhood or is it those that are on their way to college or even like young adults, the Gen Z?
I don't know. I know, kids, is it okay to say I don't know? I don't know where.
But that's just things to think about because once you niche down on that, then you know what media to go after.
Well, that's I don't know because I think I know some statistical, some data stuff, some points that we're not having conversations about, and because I'm mindful about my own childhood and mindful of so many other families that I run into, it's hard for me to imagine that there's some people that we will just exclude. So that's my issue. My issue is that if I don't tell people, if I can't show people what to do early on, then when their kids get to third grade, I've missed the first 8 years of their life. And I know, and there are things I know about brain development. There are things I know about social development that happen from 0 to 7 or 8. And if we miss those things, then we're putting the child in a precarious situation. Now they're a third grader. And now I just mentioned to you earlier the statistical data about the third grade. So if I skip that, and now I'm talking about 8th and 9th graders or 9th and 10th and 11th graders, well, then I've already eliminated, in many cases, 90% of the kids who look like you and me because they're not prepared. There's nothing I can go back and do. So who am I now helping? I'm helping a handful of families who have the financial wherewithal to help their children. But guess what? Those families are not my family. My mother and father didn't have any money. So what I'm then asking myself to do is only work with people who were not like the people who I grew up with in my home. Not like my best friend, Dr. Underwood. And that just seems sort of an unconscionable thing to do, to only be at the place where I'm only willing to help people who have figured it out some kind of way, the 10%, and the other 90%, I'm just going to ignore them.
What's this audio cast I'm looking at on your YouTube channel, Nate?
Yeah, it's just something it's a tool that I learned, that I taught my son, and some folks asked me about it, and I started doing it on a daily basis, and I share it. It's just I spend the first 20 minutes of every day writing my life as I like it to be, as opposed to how it is. And it's called journaling forward. I started that with a child as early as age 4. And so it worked for him. And one day I was with a group of future PhD students, and they asked me, did I do it? And I said, like all great hypocrites, I said no. And so I decided that I should do what I've been asking my child to do, and that's writing his life forward before it happens the way he wants it to happen. So that's what that is. I'm sorry.
Can you adapt this to So what you were saying about the things that you know about the child's development and such before age 8 and the thing, can you do?
Yeah,
We need to get that all of this information that you have out of your head and into a form that people can consume it.
yeah,
So can you that curriculum, can you deliver that via YouTube? Like that you
sure.
can sit down and
Mhm.
talk for 10
Yeah,
minutes, 15,
yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is to share that particular topic and
yeah.
then get that. Because what I'm seeing, you have the issue that a lot of talented people have is you're capable of doing so much that you can not
Do
end
nothing.
up
Yeah.
having the impact that you want to have.
Hmm.
And so you got 24 hours in a day. If helping these particular families that we've been talking about is the most important thing to you, then I would encourage you to prioritize that and getting that information that you know that they need. Let's prioritize getting that out, and then you can work on the other things that are important to you. But if the families helping those families is the most important thing to you, and you only got 10 minutes to make a video today, then it needs to be for those families. And then if you got some more time, then you can make other content about other areas. But I see a lot of stuff here. This is a lot of videos here that I don't think these are focused on the parents, are they?
No, no. The audio cast, no, the audio
Yeah.
cast is not focused on the parents, other than to encourage parents to be a better version of themselves.
Yeah, I would say the conversation that you would have with just pretend like when you're talking to the camera, pretend like it's a parent that you're talking to. What do they need to know? What do you need to share with them today or this week to help them put their child in a position to be successful, to help them with their what did you call it backwards? What?
It's backward design.
Design.
Backwards
Yeah.
design.
Hmm.
What what is the backwards design advice or consultation that you want to give to families this week? If it's a one video a week, or if you're doing it every day, give them their backward design consultation for the day, and then tomorrow you do the same thing. Because what we got to figure out something that you can do consistently,
Sure.
like the stuff you did with the post and the things you did with the other mom organizations. Like it's here and there. We got to figure out something that you can just keep, that's easy for you to keep showing up and delivering the content. And then over time, you're going to achieve a compound effect where somebody can come to your channel and binge it. The parents that you're talking about or trying to help, they can come to your channel and binge it. And there's this huge repository of information that's exactly what they need, and that's going to help the parents. That repository is also going to make it easier for you to get speaking engagements on larger platforms where you're able to read, because you have this body of work that demonstrates who you are and what you're about and who you're here to help. So I would encourage you to, you can adapt what you're doing here to creating content specifically for the parents that you're trying to help. That seems like for me the low hanging fruit in terms of you developing the consistent marketing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I certainly can do that. And as I mentioned, the person I talked to today, we've talked about being able to do some of that. So yeah, I can do that.
Good, good.
All right.
In terms of PR goals, do you have any PR goals, or looking at that as a way to expand your brand or to help you position yourself better in the market, so that you do come up first as that uh, child parent expert?
Yeah, no, I'm amenable to doing whatever that I can so that I can move on to the second chapter of my life as soon as possible. So, I mean, I know
Yeah.
what that looks like, but in terms of all the steps to take to get there, I mean, that's what I'm working. That's why I guess why I'm here talking to you now, because
Okay.
I'm
All right.
working
All
to
right.
figure out the steps. Yep.
Definitely, I could help you with that. The main thing, Nate, is to really get clear on our niche, our target, who we're
Mhm.
talking to, who you want to help, because from there, that's how we match the media to your messaging. So it's all your messaging, and then you have a great story. We didn't even talk about the story about your dad when you met your son, but just like I was telling you, the gentleman from the Today Show, he wrote a book about that whole um, relationship with his father, and
Mhm.
and then how that affected his relationship with his son. That might be something to consider. but you talked about it in your TEDx talk.
Well, my first book is a collection of letters that I wrote to a 2-year-old, from 2-year-old to age 16. And those letters, he's the reason why I even write, because I wrote him letters. He left high school as a 16-year-old. He had finished all his high school curriculum, earned 33 college credits, spoke 4 languages, and thought it was a waste of his time to go to high school for a senior year. So he left and moved to Brazil, played soccer in Brazil. And so I just took some of the letters I'd been writing him as a child and gave him the letters and put them in the binder. And when he was in Brazil, he said, "Daddy, I reread the first 3 letters in the binder. I remember my purpose. I'm going to be fine. But whenever I return, we're going to take these letters and we're going to share them with other families, because when you tell me I can do something, not only do I know I can do it, I know it's going to happen." That book is called Raising Superman. I didn't know at the time, but I was only the second father in the history of the world to write letters to and publish them over the contiguous span of their child's life. First guy was Lord Chesterfield in 1737, and the second person was me.
Okay, all right. And so you have so much that, I guess your head is down. It's like, I'm just doing the work, but the job of a publicist is to make sure that it's promoted.
Sure.
So it's good. Obviously the work is good, and this is, you have the accolades for it, but then the other part is just really to making sure that you have the right connections and the right PR guidance. And
Sure.
that's really like the main thing. I'd like to invite you to consider working with us, whether you go into our Ready, Set, Go Speak community or either work with me privately, to make sure that you get to that next level to do the PR. Like I said, knowing your influencers in that area, it's probably 1 or 2 things that you need to really kind of like platforms you need to get on before you just shoot to the top and you actually are like the first person people find in Google. Like I said, one of the ones that was a good friend of mine that owns a magazine, that would be one of the things that I would just suggest, that you just really embrace that as well. Successful Black parenting. She raised her daughter to be a supermodel. One of the first African, we can name how many people were on the cover of this magazine of Vogue, and hers was one of them, right? So it was Naomi Campbell, this and that. So anyway, so a lot of people are always asking me, your daughter turned out so well, so great. How did you do it? And so that's where she left. She was a teacher, and then she left and started this magazine and really started coaching parents of how they can raise hers was with daughters, how to raise daughters to be successful. And, or that kind of thing. So yeah, I would invite you to, and I can send you the link too of really just filling out the link so we can kind of look at where your goals are, like from now, a year and 5 years from now. Because the same thing what you said, design backwards. That's how a publicist, good publicist, I would think, where it's like, where do you want to be? And then let's go backwards from there. And it's a lot easier when you have that clarity. And it sounds like you're getting that clarity now. The things that I'm telling you are just like, that's part of it.
It makes sense. I mean, it's what I've done as an advisor. So I mean, that's what you do. And what does retirement look like? And then you work backwards. The same thing. Yeah, same thing with children and families. So
that is it. And most people, if they have that blueprint, then it's easier for them to implement it. It's just having the time or the person that has the connections to help you implement that blueprint. And that's what I like to really do for you as well, because I really believe in what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So good. Well, if there's any questions that you have of me, I see Jackie and Janine in the background. They're in our green room. They're part of the Ready, Set, Go Speak community. But if you have any questions that you have of me, of how we work or what we do or any of that kind of thing.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you kind of just told me I could go to Ready, Set, Go Speak, or I could reach out to you directly if I wanted to work with you independently. So, no, I don't. I think I've taken enough of your time. So I'm going to say.
No, it's been a pleasure, because you just happened to drop on me towards the 45 minutes. Yeah, I've written for the Washington Post. I'm like, okay. I don't think.
They be hiding stuff, man.
Say what?
They be hiding stuff, because we got all the way. We got an hour into it before you shared like that little gem about you being the second father to write a book, publish the letters that you wrote. That's a big deal. That is something that you should be promoting prominently, because for me, I was like, man, that's the hook right there. That is a very easy handle for people to grab, to pull them into your world so that you can continue to educate them, because this is something that's so easy that anybody can do it. They just never thought of it. So there's a whole bunch of dads that when they hear about this, they go, you know what? I never thought about writing writing letters to my child, but it's, as men, that's brilliant. We want to pass this knowledge on. We want to make sure, especially our sons, we already know everything he going to encounter, how he can avoid it. Let me tell him what I wish I had known. And it just never occurred to write these letters. And so when you present that simple idea, wow, yeah, I should do that. Let me get this book. And then, so now they're in your world. You got their attention. They know you got the goods, and now you can continue to educate them. So that's like that little thing that you just shared. I was like, man, damn, that's the whole game right there. Because once you get their attention, once you get that's the game, is getting their attention. And once you get their attention, you got them. Yeah, so that, man, that message has got to come out, and all the time, like just this journaling, particularly aiming at the dads. And man, and it took us an hour to find that out. So that's got to be more visible and more prominent, because it's an easy handle for people to grab.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to say, like, we didn't talk about the educational stuff. I mean, he's got more than $1.5 million of free education. I'm not talking about the scholarships. He got admitted to 27 America's best schools. He had 7 PhD offers directly from undergrad. He went to Carnegie Mellon for free. They paid him to go to school. He's at NYU currently for free.
Are you doing email marketing, Nate?
No.
Okay, so here's how this is how you deliver all that other information. This is the power of email marketing. So many most small business owners don't leverage it at all because they just don't know. But if you can demonstrate enough value to get people to give you their email address, you can dangle something in front of them. In your case, it could be, how do you get your kid into whatever college you want? A free guide. And so a parent gives you their email address in exchange for that guide. Now you have the opportunity to communicate with them in perpetuity,
right,
until you start putting out stuff that makes no sense to them and they unsubscribe. If you don't do that, if everything you're delivering is useful and valuable, you have a platform now where you can deliver unlimited information to the families that you're targeting. So please create an account on an email service provider where you can do the automated emails, and then you can structure a curriculum where they receive these emails automatically without you having to do anything. And that's the simplest, easiest way for somebody like you to impart as much information as possible and deliver it in a way that is easy for the person to consume. It just comes in their inbox. They're going to create a Nate folder, and then they're going to start, going through that stuff as they have time. So yeah, you definitely got to do that.
Okay. And that's one of the things when you work with a publicist. So say, for instance, we put you on the largest platform there is. If that part isn't in place, that's what we put in place for you. Because it doesn't make sense if you go on the Today Show and then everybody runs to your website and you're not collecting their emails, right? So then how could me as a publicist say this work when you're not really getting the leads that are generated from the PR? Because PR is just a lead generator for you. So you have to have that back end. So we help you set that part up and actually put it together. It's automated. You don't have to really think about it, but that's part of the PR process, because PR is a part of marketing, but you've got to have that marketing system set up in order for the PR to work. So we'll do that. But yeah, thank you so much, Nate, for joining us today. This has been really good. And I've really, really enjoyed our conversation. And Lenzy, that was gold what you told him about that audio cast. Like, he's just going to town on the audio cast.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get this out there. So yeah, so we'll help you do that. So thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, Nate. Well, good work, man. Good luck.
Yep.
All righty. Well, thank you. Thank you. You guys, this has been really good. Thank you for joining us. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. And Lenzy, we will see them next Friday at 2. So with that, I'm Pam Perry, and I'm out. And Lenzy is signing out too.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
See y'all next week.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine